The script for this video started with me talking about Oblivion Remastered's release, so yeah, a bit outdated now, but regardless, with Oblivion Remaster, I'm sure those of you who can run the game without the crashes and performance issues have been enjoying your time. But whether you've been playing Oblivion or just haven't checked Nexus recently, don't worry, today we're going to be looking at some of what I think are the best mods that have been released since May. And there are some pretty interesting ones here. A few minigames from Oblivion have been added into New Vegas, improvements to the quality of life, and even a noteworthy quest mod that you really shouldn't miss. For starters though, the Varmint rifle is one of the first weapons you'll see in New Vegas. If you use weapon replacers, the vanilla one will look really weird next to them. Without a doubt, it's one of the worst looking weapons in New Vegas. However, Dak's Fallout 4 Varmint rifle mod has been ported into New Vegas by the AWO team. You can now have a new model with lore-friendly textures and a distinctive appearance for Ratslayer with real-time reflections and B42 optics patches. So if you're looking for a new Varmint rifle mod, consider checking this one out. It's a pretty solid alternative to some of the others out there, and well, it's a nice new option. Similarly, the Plasma Defender is a weapon that hasn't seen as much love as others. The upgraded plasma pistol doesn't really have any mods that replace its mesh and textures. That was until Plasma Defender Beautification by Mr. Grimm was released. Installing this mod gives the weapon an upgrade that is like night and day. The new model and textures are from a reimagining of the weapon Femi on ArtStation did for Fallout 4. It feels perfectly at home in a modified New Vegas thanks to the new models and textures here. If you're looking to improve the graphical fidelity of every weapon in New Vegas, this mod is unquestionably the best looking one available for the Plasma Defender. Because this one really does make the weapon look just that much better. But it wasn't just weapon mods that we saw release, as we did get some quality of life mods as well. Woooombat has been on a roll with these recently, with advanced third person camera. This ESP-less mod is a lightweight alternative to the third person camera overhaul mod, providing a lot of much needed third person functionality. This has features like shoulder swapping, smooth transitions, and locking the camera's zoom. Oh, and it has integrated support for the leaning that comes from enhanced movement. You can adjust the various camera views by simply holding down the Alt key and moving it with the arrow keys. Now, it doesn't fix all of third person's problems though, like how bad it is to shoot. Because in case you're unaware, weapons in New Vegas shoot projectiles out of the tip of the barrel, which makes sense. However, when playing in third person, this means that your shots won't always land where the crosshair is, and the problem is exacerbated by shifting the camera position. And since this only really happens up close, it makes third person shooting feel so inconsistent. However, Woombat's third person aim fixes this by moving the projectile spawn point, so you can play in third person just as easily as first person. This problem is basically gone now. And finally by Woombat we have enhanced FOV, which is easily the best FOV mod available. With this installed, you can change your field of view by holding the right Alt key and scrolling with your mouse wheel whilst the console's up. And that's it just works. Things like field of view for weapon iron sights are changed automatically, plus you can edit first and third person FOV separately. It also comes with some additional features like fixing the slideshows at higher FOVs so you can no longer see the room that you're in for them, and adding a switch for third person weapons that have scopes, allowing you to toggle between the scope overlay and traditional third person crosshair. Even though these mods are small, when used together they make life so much better that it's hard to play without them, especially if you're someone that enjoys third person. But if your game's anything like mine, you probably get stutters that not even TickFix or any other performance mod seems to be able to fix. Specifically stutters when a cell loads. Thankfully though, Walls released a mod that largely addresses this issue, and believe it or not, it's actually caused by ESPs. Because ESPs are basically unoptimized debug plugins for testing, and without this mod installed, the game scans every single ESP to see if there's a cell that's needed to load, which is what causes this stutter. But there is a way to optimize ESPs, and that's essentially what this mod does, generating plugin offsets at launch, allowing for these stutters to be basically gone. You can see this happening when you load up the game for the first time after installing this mod, and it really doesn't take that long. But yeah, this is something that you're definitely gonna want to have in your load order. It just makes the game run that much smoother. Another mod that's come out recently that also makes things smoother, but not in the same sense, is smooth weapon handling by Into the Rough. It's a modified version of adaptive weapon handling. This mod lowers the weapon in first person in a way that changes based on your view. In vanilla, the weapon just sort of stays at the same position no matter where you're looking, and this mod just makes playing in first person feel much more immersive, as the guns now actually feel like they're in the courier's hand and not just a PNG that's been slapped on the screen. It is also very smooth. I didn't notice any weapon snapping whilst playing with this mod, although that is something that can rarely occur, so yeah. I already said that we saw some Oblivion features brought over to New Vegas, so let's talk about those. Stentorious' Oblivion lockpicking mod replaces the vanilla lockpicking minigame with the Oblivion one. It's a pretty drastic shakeup. Oblivion's lockpicking is a lot harder in my opinion than the New Vegas one. Instead of just twisting a lock and bobby pin like in New Vegas, you actually need to lock the pins in place with a tumbler. Depending on the difficulty of the lock, there are different amounts of pins you'll need to set. The goal of this is to set the pins in place when they reach the top, which can be done by pressing the space key, which will move the tumbler. If the pins aren't at the top though, your bobby pin will break, and you'll have to redo some of the pins. If my explanation of this isn't the best, don't worry, this mod does actually change the tutorial text to account for the new system. But unlike Oblivion, you can configure this mod to your liking. You can change things like which locks the minigame will show up on. For example, you can make it only show up on doors and have the normal lockpicking minigame on things like containers. You can also change things like how many pins will fall when you fail, how long you have to set the tumbler, and even enabling mouse controls. I think this is a good change to the way lockpicking works in the vanilla game. Is it going to be for everyone? I don't know. But if you like Oblivion's lockpicking or find New Vegas is a bit too repetitive, pick this mod up. Another feature that sets Oblivion apart is its Persuasion minigame. In Oblivion, you're shown a pie menu with 4 options. You can use these to choose the option that will make the NPC happier, which will improve their feelings towards you. The New Vegas mod essentially brings the system in one for one. You can access this system via a new icon added in the dialogue menu, and it's basically Oblivion's minigame, even down to the NPC's facial expressions changing depending on the option you're hovering over, which is really cool. Especially because the disposition system this minigame uses is actually something that is in the vanilla game. Oblivion's relationship system does exist in both Fallout 3 and New Vegas. It's just unused. And in Fallout 3, it's likely that having a higher disposition with an NPC would have made passing speech checks easier. But in this mod, it'll instead affect things like NPCs' barter prices, as the speech percentage checks from Fallout 3 obviously aren't in New Vegas. So at 0 disposition, you'll be paying more for items and you'll be getting less caps for the items you sell, with the opposite happening at 100, giving you a discount and more caps for your items. However, the efficiency of the persuasion will rely on your stats. For example, at 1 charisma, no one will want to talk to you, setting your base disposition at 0, meaning you'll be penalised for, well, dumping the dump stat, which actually gives charisma some sort of use. But this mod only implements a way for you to raise your disposition with no actual way to lower it, so you should combine it with Criminal Record. Another mod by StealthDuck, this one introduces a way for you to lower your disposition. For example, obvious things like murder, theft, and trespassing will lower your relationship with witnessing NPCs. Interestingly, even things like aiming at NPCs, throwing items near them, or knocking over owned items will also cause a reduction in your disposition. This helps makes your actions feel like they have some sort of consequence. No longer can you drag every item from the Silver Rush into the bathroom without being penalised in some sense. These two mods combined add a really nice extra level of immersion and roleplaying to New Vegas, making the NPCs feel that much more like actual characters. Speaking of actual characters, let's talk about quest mods, because we got a really good one that I definitely think you should check out. Detour by SomeRooster is honestly the most engaged I've been in a quest mod for a while. After hitting level 20, you'll stumble across a wrecked caravan on the road between Goodsprings and Jean's skydiving. This will start the main quest of the mod, which will see you helping out a kid find the remaining members of his family, eventually even taking you to a new world space. This mod genuinely blew me away. The dialogue options, although not many, there was never once a moment where I felt as though I couldn't say something I would want to. with the combat encounters definitely being something that you need to be level 20 for. I know they're going down quickly in the gameplay, but that's because I'm playing with Sweet 6 Shooter's new block mod. But anyways, the voice actors did a pretty good job on some of these characters.
Thing is, I'm in a pickle and I need some help. The most valuable thing in the world was taken from me. My sugar tits.
And the characters are all believable and, more importantly, likable and interesting. And the kid who you're helping throughout this quest isn't actually annoying. There's a myriad of choices regarding him that you can make, and it's definitely a mod you should experience for yourself. It's got a lot of memorable moments that I'm not going to spoil here. As for the quests themselves, I found them to be enjoyable. The main quest will run you about 2 hours, and there's some side quests available depending on the choices you make in that quest. There seems to be a lot of different ways you can deal with the situations you're presented with, which will impact the ending of this mod. With there being an NPC you can talk to at Boulder City, who will tell you about the impact your choices had. Sort of like an ending slide, but you know, without the slides. As for the new world space, there's no world map for it, but to be honest, it's not really necessary, as it's mostly pretty linear. Despite that though, it looks pretty good and doesn't have that feel that many quest mod world spaces have, where you can tell it's from a mod. So yeah, definitely check this mod out. But with that being said, these are just some of the highlights of the mods that we've seen released recently. And I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, maybe consider liking or subscribing. But with that being said, I hope to see you all next time.